I'm just checking. A little bit.
If anybody needs to speak, the sign-in sheet is right here.
Ready to go?
We're ready.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Minisink Valley Board of Education regular meeting of Thursday, February 13th, 2025. We do have a quorum. Will everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to ask the Board of Education approval of the minutes of the January 23rd meeting. Be it resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approves the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Education of January 23rd, 2025.
So move, Bill Cooper. Second, Anthony.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. No one signed up for welcome to the visitors, so we'll open and close that portion and move on to the superintendent's report with Mr. Monahan.
Thank you. One item tonight is the approval of the 2025-2026 student calendar. So just as a refresher, typically starting in November to December, the superintendents along with BOCES gets together and we have a calendar committee that puts the following year's calendar together. This year's calendar that was put together, we will have a slight difference from the BOCES calendar. Everyone will be having a 2-week winter break. And then this particular year coming up, you're going to see on our calendar, we will again have a full February break. But across the county, so everyone is aware, we have Lunar New Year that will be that Tuesday of President's Week. And so what the superintendents and BOCES decided was to take that Friday and move that to a Wednesday. So pretty much everyone in the county will have off, obviously Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We are adding that Thursday and Friday in there. There will probably be about another 6 districts that will add that in as well. And then we will have the 1 week at spring break. And that's how we arrive at the calendar, okay? Any questions on the calendar?
Just a few comments when we...
Would you like me to put a motion in first so we can open it to comments?
Sure.
Okay. Be resolved that the Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent, approves the student calendar for the 2025-2026 school year.
So move, Scott Hines.
Second, Captain DeRose.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion, Mr. Cooper?
Yeah, I just want to say, when we start to fill in our board schedule, I think, again, we should remember we might need to be flexible in some of these months because of the homecoming and other things that are pre-scheduled already. And we may have to move some meetings to Wednesdays to accommodate different things. So just have a little flexibility as we go forward.
One of the things that we are happy with at Minisink is there's a lot of things occurring throughout the week, each week, throughout the year. We're happy to have our students showcase all the different talents, whether it's drama shows, musicals, concerts, athletic events, pep rallies, and we try to do our very best to make sure that we do not have board meetings conflicting with some of these events that many of you like to attend. So I appreciate that comment. Thank you, Mr. Cooper.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
Okay, that's all for my section.
Thank you, Mr. Monahan. Next item on the agenda is Human Resources with Mr. Giardina.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. We have a termination. Be it resolved that pursuant to Rule 23, subsection 5 of the Orange County Rules for Classified Service, the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, hereby terminates the employment of Marcel Sanino Sensio effective February 7th, 2025.
So moved, Anthony Monahan.
Second, Patty Reynolds.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
We have a motion to approve the retirement, leave of absence, and appointments as listed.
So moved, Scott Hines.
Second, Ruth Lewis.
Motion made and seconded, is there any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
Mr. Flaherty, may I have a quick second?
Yes, sir.
Now that the motion is passed, I'd like to just stop the meeting for half a second here, and I would like to introduce our newest school psychologist, Alexa Gartiza, who's here tonight to see it, and she's here with her parents. So, congratulations, Alexa, and welcome to the family.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And that is it for Mr. Giardina. Next item on the agenda is pupil personnel services with Mr. Finley.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. Good evening. Please refer to the executive summary and board docs. To begin with, we have a resolution to approve a consultant agreement with the Red Foundation to provide specific professional development and consultation to support the student. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby authorizes the board president to execute the following consultant agreement as listed below for the provision of services to district students during the 24-25 school year, effective February 1st, 2025, as presented to the board at this meeting.
So moved. Second, Anthony Monaco.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I just wanted to confirm that this is for one student.
Correct.
Any other questions? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
Committee on Preschool Special Education met 5 days in January and 1 day in February. 27 students were reviewed. I ask for a motion to approve the arrangements of the recommended placements by the Committee on Preschool Special Education as presented.
So moved, Kathy DeRose.
Second, Sean Cahill.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
Committee on Special Education met on 8 days in January and 3 days in February. 59 students were reviewed. I ask for a motion to approve the arrangements of the recommended placements by the Committee on Special Education as presented.
So moved, Patty Reynolds.
Second, Bill Cooper.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Finn. We are now into the business portion of the meeting with Mr. Witherow.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. First item we have is the treasurer's report. Be it resolved that the Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent, acknowledges receipt of the treasurer's report for the month of December 2024.
So moved, Lewis.
Second, Scott Hines.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
Next item is approval of warrants. Be it resolved that the Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent, accepts the claims auditor's report for the following warrants as attached.
So moved, Patty Reynolds. Second, Ruth Lewis.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
Last item we have is acceptance of the budget transfer report. Be it resolved that the Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent, acknowledges receipt of the budget transfer report for the month of January 2025.
So moved, Ruth Lewis.
Second, Anthony Monaco.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witherow. The next item on the agenda is the report section, and first thing is policy updates, and Mr. Monahan, are you gonna handle that?
Yes, I will. So again, this will be our second reading of the work that the policy committee did with Erie 1 BOCES and also with our district council and the central administration. So be it resolved that the Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent, approves the attached policy revisions and omissions as listed and as recommended by Erie 1 BOCES Policy Services District Council and the Minisink Valley Central School District's Policy Committee for a second reading and adoption. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Patty Reynolds.
Second, Scott Hines.
Motion made and seconded, is there any discussion? Mr. Cahill?
I just, on the student attendance, I mean, I'm glad that we had the policy committee, and then we have the first reading, and we have time to think about it. My feeling is that, it's too narrow in scope, the reason for the policy change. I think that it's going to exclude, there's choices to be made, you know, we're the advocates for our children. And, I just think that I don't think we should change the policy. I think that it's okay the way it is. I don't think that we should, you know, if a family wants to decide that they, you know, wanna have unexcused absences, then that decision is on the family. I don't think we should make a policy change to accommodate that.
Any other questions or comments? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Mr. Cahill opposed. Abstained? Motion carries. Mr. Monty, you gonna handle board goals?
Yes. So as you know, we've made a decision to work through a strategic plan, which will become our plan moving forward. We are in the final stages of that, as I shared with you at the beginning of the week. The draft version from Dr. McGowan. And again, any comments, please make sure you get them to me by tomorrow afternoon so we can incorporate them in with any of the changes we've made. We have a number of different areas we've made some slight adjustments to. We will then get a final version of that before it goes to print. And right now, we do need to have some board goals in place. So again, continue the current board goals until we have the strategic plan in place is the most appropriate thing to do. We should have that hopefully by somewhere in March, beginning of April. If Dr. McGowan can do it sooner, we'll have it sooner. But I think having goals in place is where we need to be. So with that, be it resolved that the Board of Education, upon recommendation, the superintendent approves the 24-25 goals of the Board of Education as listed. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Bill Cooper.
Second, Patty Reynolds.
Motion made and seconded, is there any discussion?
Yeah, well, I would consider adding a goal that includes the fact that we are doing all of this work to come up with a new strategic plan, given that we're putting a lot of time into this, as are you. Why not have one of our goals this year? Because that was really what came out of our board retreat, is that our goal for this year was going to be to go down this road of developing the strategic plan for the next 5 years of the school. Why not include that as a goal?
If you would like, what we can do is approve these, and we can come back on the 26th with a new goal to add and for review, and I'll send it out in a board report at the end of next week.
All right, what are my fellow board members?
No, that's a great idea.
I agree.
Great?
Yeah.
Thank
Fine,
you.
no
So we made
problem.
this commitment.
Okay, so that's, we will move forward next meeting with that additional to the goals. We can adopt these as written now and then move forward with the additional one at the next meeting. And everybody's okay with that? Okay.
Great point.
Okay, so, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is the Finance Committee report with Mrs. Reynolds.
Well, we had a meeting an hour ago. And what is there to say? We went over 9 budgets. We have yet to finalize our tax cap information. Until we do that, it's hard to get a clear picture of what things are gonna look like, but so far with what we went over, it all seemed pretty flat and just some adjustments, and we will continue to get into the meatier part of the budgets as the meetings go on. That's about it.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the OXPA report. Last week I attended an OXPA meeting, and they had a couple of guests. One was Kevin Calderin. He's a Washingtonville High School English teacher, but he's also the coach for the esports program. They have an esports program. And I learned quite a bit about it. Like these kids compete against other schools. It's quite competitive. They can even do these these competitions in person or remotely, like, kids play their Xbox and other games. But also, there are quite a bit of schools that have esports programs, colleges, where kids become game developers and, things of that nature. So I was quite impressed with his knowledge and his presentation of what these kids do. And, you know, he said, like, they went to a competition, one of his graduates was actually the person running the competition. So, you know, he said that there are jobs for this, there are places for people, you know, in the gaming field to get gainful employment by this. So it was very, very interesting. And they also had another speaker that evening, and this was Eileen Angelini, and she's the director of WEDU. It's We Educate Holocaust Stories. And, you know, she is not Jewish, but she's so dedicated to telling us stories of the Holocaust survivors so that history does not repeat itself. There are always lessons learned. There are not many of these survivors left, and it's important for them to speak their stories and educate us as to the horrors that really happened in World War II, and that there was like about 6 million Jews killed, but there was like 11 million people killed in total. It was just a violent time in the history of the world, and we need not forget that, because we don't learn those lessons, we will repeat them. And that is all I have for that report. Next item on the agenda is the Lobby Day presentation. Myself, Mr. Monaco, and Mr. Cooper were up in Albany yesterday, and I would like Mr. Monaco and Mr. Cooper to talk about what happened up there.
Okay, yesterday we met with Senator Skoupis, Assemblywoman Kay, actually was her legislative aide, and Assemblyman Brabenek, and went over a variety of topics that Oxpa and NISBA both rose as key things. All of them seemed very accommodating and agreeable to what we were asking. One key thing that all of the people that were there were making to them is that Albany has to stop creating blanket type of laws that require actions from school districts without us having any ability to control the actions. It has to be controlled or allowed to be decisions made district by district. They were all kind of agreeable and said, yeah, that makes sense. The school districts, because as the president of Middletown, President Williams, Pastor Williams said, listen, if you're gonna do all these things, we don't need school boards. You're just gonna dictate what's going on. And they all were on board with, yeah, we need to maybe change the way this is coming down, and said that that's gotta be reflected also to them from the governor, because it's really the governor's, like with the cell phone and all these other things. He did say that they have made some changes, like to the heat bill that went through. They did add the words in where practicable. It's not necessarily that you have to empty your buildings, you know, if it's not practical to do so. But we all did agree that having it, trying to teach in a building, give Regents tests for kids where it's 95 degrees also is the best. Zero emission buses, everybody agreed that that's still a disaster, and they really still don't know what they're going to do. The common, I guess, thread was that it will be extended out to 2040s or so before anything actually has to be done. But that's not in writing yet. school, everybody was really kind of, behind the measures for the school, lunch programs, universal, everybody getting that. And there was Senator Skoufis was, I guess, chastising a few districts with the, pre-K, universal pre-K programs where they're not using the funding that's available to them. And, they really didn't have much to say because they were returning the money to the state, which she said, okay, like, you're not gonna get it then, like, that's silly. And how do you tell your taxpayers, okay, yeah, we have like, I think the ones, I don't want to mention the district, but they
There's
had,
two
they
districts
had
that are-
like, 13 or 14 seats where kids could have been funded, and they said, no, that's all right.
We don't need it, we don't want it.
I don't get that, but
This is year 5 in the program, and, you said, okay, year 1, year 2, I'll give you a pass. Year 3, okay, we're getting in the rhythm here of this, and he obviously applauded us for utilizing it, to the best of our abilities. So that was good. I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
no, that was fine.
You want to carry on?
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, Mr. Cooper basically hit on all the points. Again, I brought up the air conditioning and heating thing, and same thing kind of going to that. They cannot just dictate without, or mandate without helping us along the way, and that was my thing to Senator Skoufis was, that's great with this air conditioning. I'm not disagreeing with it, but in a district like ours, where it's hard sometimes to pass a budget, I said it's a $37 million price tag. If the state would like to help and cooperate with money, we would be more than glad to outfit all of our buildings with that. He said, well, I don't have that kind of money to give you. He said, so they did change some of that wording that will be coming out, and we'll see what happens with all that. But yes, the universal pre-K thing was awesome, and the school lunch thing was awesome. And yes, he talked about the cell phones, that he thinks that it should be here, at the local level, and the governor should not be telling, because Middletown, like I said, Pastor Williams was there as well, President Williams, was there as well, and we talked about the cell phones, and they kind of went out on a limb, and they tried their own policy, and it was a difficult decision there, and they got there's a lot of back and forth, and they've tried it. It's not a perfect system, but they got it kind of working, but they did get a lot of heat from the local citizens and people of Middletown, but supposedly they're saying that it works for them, but there's still bugs to be worked out of it. But he agreed that each district, because every identity, we said that us and Middletown are neighbors, but we have different stuff going on. So things are different between Middletown and Minisink, and we should be able to do what we need to do as our district, and they should be able to do as they need to in their district. So it was good. Again, we met with the legislative aide for Mrs. K, and he seemed very good. He was definitely open ears, and she's new, and hopefully she can make some change for us as well. And always with Mr. Bravernack, it's always a pleasure to meet him, and he, again, does what he can for us he's the minority there, so it's hard for him to get things passed and along. But a good day. New York School Board's put on a great thing. Oxbow was on it. Our meetings were great and on time, and a lot of great information. It's great to see other districts there, fighting for some stuff. I actually did talk to Mr. Bravernack again, and commended him and Mr. Skoufis about the Warrior name as well, that they went to bat for us on that, and all the other districts. So I thought that was good. But yeah, a good day overall.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Again, I say this is my 3rd time. Mr. Flaherty's been there 15 times, and Mr. Cooper, I don't know how many times you've been there. It's great to go, if you can go, I mean, it's a day, right? It's a day of stuff up there, but it's a pretty cool process. Last year we got to go on the floor, which was awesome. This year we did not, but it's just cool. You go in their rooms and in their offices and you speak, and they do listen. They're right there in front of you. They're taking notes. They're listening. Whether they're hearing us or not is another story, but they are listening, and they understand it. And they're from here, right? All the people we're talking to are from here, so they get it. At least I think they get it. So yeah, it's cool. I would invite anybody to come with us next year. I plan to attend as long as I can, because I just think it's interesting and see how our government kind of works.
And I think it's important that the public knows that we go up there and advocate for them and their children every year. They like after you go for a certain amount of years, they know what I'm going to say already.
Scoop said that.
Scoop said that. He knows and my thing to him was, you have to stop this top-down approach, one size fits all for every school district in the state, because we're all different. We all have different needs. We all have, what works for one doesn't work for all. And this top-down approach it's stifling us. It's stifling the way we learn. It's stifling our finances. And it's not necessary. It's just really not necessary. And I don't know if they're ever going to completely get it, or vote that way. But you have to keep trying. You have to keep trying. And it's great to see Anthony and Bill the last couple of years up there. Bill's been longer, obviously, but they know if they know what the issues are, without you even saying anything, you're at least you're making an impression on them. At the very least, they may never change their mind, but at least you're making that mental impression on them. And if enough people do it, maybe they will change their mind. And I want to thank my colleagues for coming with me, because it shows that we're serious about this, we mean business, and that we care.
I agree.
Can I just add something to that?
Absolutely.
So, I've never gone, but I listen every year, and I have a little break and I'm back. There has been progress made, especially stepping away from the school board for 3 years and come back. There has been some progress made, and that's got to be attributed to yourself, Joe, and everybody else who goes up there and advocates. Just the fact that they're talking about maybe addressing the buses in a different way. Somebody is listening, but it's also an exercise in, we might not always agree with who's in power at the time, but hopefully the people in power do listen to some extent and really face what realities are out there. So to your frustration, I think almost, I want to say as an outsider, because I haven't listened for the last 3 years, there has been some progress made. So that's to you gentlemen, and to everyone else who goes up there and advocates for our districts.
I can tell you specifically about the bus mandate, because I told Senator Stupas year one that they didn't have a plan. It was completely undoable in the current format, and I essentially told them, you need to scrap it and start over, and have stakeholders. You need to talk to the utility companies and see what's realistic for them to do, the bus companies, the school districts, and this should be voluntary. This should not be mandatory.
Like, I don't understand how, and I've said this to ad nauseam, how's it gonna do it on a half day? How's it gonna do it when you have an emergency and you gotta get the kids home quickly? All those things are very unrealistic where the technology is right now. If it can work for a district, to your point, great, it's voluntary. But for districts like us, it's not realistic. Not from the power supply side and not from our day-to-day of how long it would take to charge and accomplish everything.
And there could be adaptability in the future where on certain routes it does work for us.
Correct.
And certain routes it's never gonna work for us. But we need to have the ability to make those decisions for ourselves based on our needs and not like this one size fits all.
And I remember you coming back from one of these, and you spoke about a district somewhere near the Finger Lakes or
Saranac
somewhere.
Lake.
And they had such large bus runs, mile-wise, that there wasn't a bus on the market that could accommodate certain round trips of their buses.
Their school is about 5 times the size of ours, geographical. And they had one bus run, it was like 80 miles. And the bus wouldn't even survive the one route.
Right.
These are the logistic things that are not thought about when you don't have any, when you take an idea like this, you slam it into a budget vote without hearings or discussions or having experts speak to the matter. These are the results you get. And I brought that up to Senator, he goes, I agree with you. I go, you agree with me, but you continue to do this stuff. So if you're agreeing with me on the other hand, but you're voting in complete disagreement on the other hand. So it's completely hypocritical. And we as a state have to get away from that. There has to be real hearings, real discussion, what's feasible, what's not
And
feasible.
legislators that are willing to listen
And
to
what-
the experts and.
What's a realistic timeline? This should have been done gradually with a plan and take steps along the way and see where we are. In 5 years, are we where we want to be, or are we ahead, or are we behind? And then readjust as we go along. These are the things, when you do something this drastic, these are the things you need to do.
Right.
And until they understand and vote that way, we're gonna be banging our heads against that.
But I do think you have made some amount of progress.
I hope so. I hope so.
And
That's my goal for going up there every year.
Oh, I agree. You wouldn't do it unless you had work.
And I do. Anybody else? No? All right, next item on the agenda is, district events comment period. Mr. Cooper, you wanna start off?
Yeah, I'm just gonna do a list. I went to the intermediate, drama production of Annie, the state dual meet wrestling championships for wrestling up in Syracuse, Otisville concert, senior nights for swimming, girls wrestling, boys wrestling. I participated in the Capitol Conference, online, and lobby day yesterday.
You're a busy man, Bill. God bless.
I have no life, that's why.
I love how you love our district, Bill.
Anybody down here?
I will just give a list.
Oh, no way.
I'll just give a list as well, so Ms. Reynolds doesn't yell at me. I attended the wrestling, varsity wrestling clap-off for the boys to go to the state tournament. I attended the senior swimming night. I also attended a boys basketball game. I got to see Addie, our beloved dog, up in the elementary school. That was amazing. See her in action. Got to see Mr. Tuddle's class down in the high school with the new CSD machines and all that kind of great technology down there. That's awesome. Got to see Annie up at the intermediate school. That was amazing, and Addie was in that performance. Went to the senior wrestling night. We had our meeting with Dr. McGowan here, our giant meeting, and that was quite amazing. I attended lobby day yesterday, and I think that's all I got.
She went to see Annie, very impressed. Kids did a really nice job.
Anybody else down here?
I saw Annie. Got to see Annie. It's great.
I was singing.
I attended the senior night with Mr. Monaco and Mr. Cooper with the wrestling, and I was astonished at how fast the meet was. I commented to Mr. Cooper and Mr. Monaco that it was the fastest sporting event I was ever at in my life. The senior night festivities and the matches themselves, it was done in under an hour. Our wrestlers, they're really good. Let's just say that they are really good, and You know, some of them will be heading up to states, shortly, and I wish them nothing but the best, because they're all good kids.
26 minutes. Complete the
Yeah.
entire lesson match.
Anybody else have any comments, questions? No?
I do have one.
Go ahead and start.
So, it is that time of the year again, where we have the elementary school faculty and staff taking on the Harlem Wizards. And I have a request from Principal Gallant, who would like to know if there are any board members who would like to be on the basketball team. It is March 12th at the high school, so do I have any takers?
I did it last time, I'm not very good.
Can I ref?
March twelfth at the high school, you said?
March 12th at the high
You
school.
know, I'm so tall, we don't
But
wanna give us
I
an
need to
unfair
check.
advantage.
For some reason, that date is, ringing a bell or something, so I'm not gonna say yes.
Can I let you know tomorrow, Mr. Monahan?
Yes, you can.
Unless you want to ambulance coming, I think I'm gonna pass.
I'll let you know tomorrow.
You'll let me know, Roy. I was gonna check, Mr. Cahill. I know you've been a fan favorite, so.
I'm not good.
Are you trying to kill all of us?
It's a Wednesday.
There's only one doctor on this board, and I don't think you can save all of us.
I call dibs, anyway.
Anybody else? You've done this, Monahan?
I'm done.
Okay, I'm going to ask the board for motion to enter an executive session to discuss employment issues of particular persons and matters made exempt under federal law FERPA, and the board may take action after executive session. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Scott Hines.
Second, Sean Cahill.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Being that there's none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Good night, all. Get home safely, please.